Hi, welcome to the 13th floor. I'm Marty Duda, and today we have Boom Boom Deluxe with us. We have Hetty and Dee Dee from the band.
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Great, thank you.
We've already seen the performance, which I can't wait to show everybody, and it was freaking awesome. So, especially with the dancers and everything. So, stay tuned. Watch this stuff. It's really cool. So, rockabilly. There is a scene in New Zealand, a rockabilly scene of some description, isn't there?
There is, yeah.
It's more of a vintage scene, really.
A vintage scene, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go on, do you want
Well, you know, there's a lot of cool events on, you know, where
Right.
people put on the classic cars, and you know, there's bands playing, and there's usually a vintage market, and all these, you know, there's certain people that tend to congregate in these. There's the pin-ups who dress up, you know,
Right.
1950s style. They love it, you know. There's a whole kind of combination of people.
There's the car people, the rat rods and the hot rod guys, and and the classic car guys. There's the pin-ups, as Hetty said. There's the rock and roll dancers.
Right.
There's the swing dancers. There's people that kind of just like the memorabilia. There's like a smaller bunch of people that just like the music and are real purists about that kind of, you know,
Right.
it's got to be in mono and recorded in Jerry Lee Lewis's shed, you know. And the thing with New Zealand, partly because all of the centres are separated by a long windy road, is that getting people to interact and actually create a scene with a comparatively small population is really tricky.
Right.
Yeah.
And a couple of years ago, I mean, because we love all this stuff, and a couple of years ago we kind of thought, why isn't there any original music?
Right.
It's just covers bands. It seems insane.
Yeah.
And 6 months later, we had our first album out, and we were playing at Beach Hop, and it kind of, once you've kind of jumped off the cliff, it's kind of hang on and hope for the best.
Snowballed from there.
Imagine there's only so many times you can play Bebopalula and you want to move on, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, no disrespect, that stuff is just fantastic, and the performances on those records still stand up now. I mean, some of those, I mean, That's All Right Mama, it's no secret, that was one microphone. It was the third time I'd ever played it. They were larking about. 3 of them, no drum kit, and that was a live take. That is astonishing. It's just, and that kind of thing just doesn't happen anymore, well, very rarely. And we figured there was a space for a bit of that kind of raw honesty, and also just the joy and the fun of it, you know? I mean, before 53, 54, there was no pop music. We all listened to what our mums and dads listened to. It was
Patti Page and K-Star and
That's
Perry
right.
Como.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and Andy Williams, and it was just kind of, and then Elvis and Jerry Lee and Chuck and all those guys came along, and it just turned the world upside down. There were black guys making popular music. It was just, you know, it was a glorious, glorious time. I mean, the world wasn't perfect, but there was a feeling of enthusiasm, and you know, everyone was keen on what the future is going to bring. Everything was, there's going to be futuristic cars and futuristic, and it was just, there was a joy to it post-war, you know, and kind of, I feel like the world's going through a bit of a, you know, we've got the global warming, and we've got people running countries that a lot of, I'm not going to say his name, but yeah, and you'd think with all that going on, there would be a need for a bit of joy in the music and a bit of kind of, but people are still, it's still beards and comfortable shoes and you know, so this, no disrespect, there's some great singer-songwriters out there, but it's also serious.
Comfortable shoes.
Well,
can we just point these out? They are not
Those
comfortable
aren't comfortable.
No,
but they're worth the pain,
They
right?
look great.
Neither are mine, you know.
and the Python put up a hell of a fight.
And I want you to know I'm wearing my blue
It's
suede
blue
shoes.
suede shoes.
Yeah,
Look,
yeah.
Marty's pushed the boat out. So what started off as just a bright idea has turned into something. You know, we feel like now we're leading. Well, we're trying to help the scene become something that it should be. I mean, we've got a podcast as well where we're trying to interview people from, you know, that run American diners or run a car club, or you know, just to try and make everybody in the scene realise that there's other facets to it, and break down some walls, and when it works, like at Beach Hop, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. You see people there once a year that you don't see anywhere else, and it's, you know, hugs and kisses, and it's like family. That's what it should be.
Excellent.
Right? It's fantastic.
All right, well, we'll talk about the music itself after the song, but the song that we're going to hear, the first one is
Slap That Bottom.
Slap That Bottom, that's it.
That's Hetty's song.
You wrote it, right?
Yeah, I wrote this one.
Do I dare ask what the inspiration was for that?
Well, it's actually fairly mundane. I just thought, okay, well, I want to write a song that has a slap bass line to it, because that's the predominant sort of rockabilly technique, and where you actually hit the strings to create that slapping sound. And yeah, slap that bottom literally just means play that bass.
Of course it does. Yes.
There's nothing, you know,
Nothing else going on there.
Nothing else going on.
If the radio stations are listening that wouldn't have us on because they thought it was rude, it's about bass playing.
Yes, well, but it's about whatever you want it to be, you know, whatever you want it to be. So if you've got a dirty mind, that's your problem. That's on you.
Alrighty, well, let's give it a listen, and we'll come back and let the folks decide for themselves.
What I say. You've been a bad, bad boy, running around town, skidding me down when I hear you fooling around. Now, listen here, Billy, you're gonna make me look silly. Better stop, or I'll pop, then I'll make you drop. I'm gonna slap that bottom if you don't behave. What I say. I've been a good, good girl, shining like a pearl, but all this rigmarole is gonna turn me into coal. Now, look what you've been doing, gonna drive me straight to ruin. Better stop or I'll pop, then I'll make you drop. I'm gonna slap that bottom if you don't behave. What I say. Here we go. What I say. What I say.
All right, we're back here with Hetty and Dee Dee from Boom Boom Deluxe, and we're going to talk about rockabilly music a little bit more, because let's face it, this stuff happened 60 some years ago now, isn't it? It's crazy. So there's a lot of people not necessarily familiar with the thing. They may have heard the Stray Cats.
Yeah.
And the Cramps kind of fit in with what you do.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
It's closer to punk, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll just pull out. I found some records in my collection. I have Blue Suede Shoes by Carl Perkins on Sun.
Yeah.
So
That's
a holy relic.
That's like, yeah.
it is. It feels like it is. People don't understand why you want to carry a collection around all the time. But then you can pull out like a Chuck Berry record on Chess or Little Richard on Specialty or something, and it's like this is it. This is the thing.
And as far as the history of music's concerned, that's a physical representation of a milestone in music.
Right, right.
The basically was not any pop music. I mean, we've said this before, but that was, you know, that was covered by Elvis. It was covered by half a dozen people. It was a hit multiple times.
Yep. Yeah. Bebopalula, Gene Vincent.
Yeah.
A good one.
Fantastic.
And how do you feel about the Johnny Burnett rock and roll trio?
Ooh, yeah.
Brilliant. I mean, his version of Train Kept a Rolling is just
That's the one, isn't it?
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was originally done by Tiny Bradshaw.
That's right.
But it's not as
yeah.
good as this.
And Brand New Cadillac as well is great, isn't
Oh,
it?
yeah.
Yeah. So how did you discover this music?
Well, shall I go first? Because it's kind of different, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up with a musician father. My dad was a trumpet player and really into big band and stuff like that. So I grew up listening to a lot of, you know, Joe Loss and Ella Fitzgerald and you know, a lot of that kind of stuff. And the natural progression of that was to kind of listen to blues and I left home pretty young. And at the time, there was a show on BBC Radio. Obviously, you can tell by my lack of accent, I'm British. And,
Wait a minute, I thought it was me who didn't have the accent.
there was a rock and roll show on Friday nights, and I religiously sat there with my little cassette recorder and the microphone up to the speaker, and I recorded it every. You know. So all of this stuff is kind of ingrained in me. And I've been in metal bands and all sorts of stuff, but it was always the roots. It's always the roots of everything. You know.
And Hetty?
Well, for me, you know, music's always been a massive thing, but I started out listening to a lot of jazz, and I went and studied jazz at Massey University.
Right.
And I just kind of wanted to get down to the essence of it. And the more I kept listening, the more I was gravitated to the more simple blues, and then I was going to, you know, then I started listening to rock and roll and all this old stuff. I just went down the rabbit hole in time.
Right.
Just kind of thought, ooh. But I've always loved the aesthetic as well. Like ever since I can remember, I've been watching the old black and white movies, you know, and just loved what they wore back then, and just everything around that era. Just kind of, it just.
Did you catch Wanda Jackson when she was here?
No, we didn't. Unfortunately.
She's retired now.
So I know, I see that she's probably
Yeah.
hanging up her blue suede shoes. She's in her 80s, I think.
Yeah.
So
she had an amazing career because she's managed to keep her country career going as well as the rockabilly thing, which is quite something.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of her early singles had a rockabilly song one side and a real traditional country, the other side.
Keep everybody happy.
Yeah. Clever, yeah.
Okay, so the next song we're going to hear, which one is that?
This is Everybody Rolls. This is going to be our next single in 2 or 3 weeks' time, I think. And it's basically, I mean, it's pretty topical at the moment with religion being in the headlines.
Oh, yes,
I mean, but basically, just don't be just treat people nicely. You know, that's basically what it's about.
We're all the same.
Yeah, everybody's the same, man.
Cool. Alrighty, let's give it a spin.
So, baby,
do you care? Everybody rocks now, baby. Everybody rolls. Everybody rolls. Everybody rocks now, baby. Everybody rolls. Everybody rolls. The jack and the cow and the man in the moon. Watching that dance roll away westward. Everybody rocks now, baby. Everybody rolls. Reds and black and yellow, Russia and China and France. Don't give no heed to your cast of creed. Everybody dance. Everybody rocks now, baby. Everybody rolls. Hey. Everybody rocks now, baby. Everybody rolls. The jack and the cow and the man in the moon. Watching that dance roll away westward. Everybody rocks now, baby. Everybody rolls. Hell, Hetty. Everybody rocks now, baby. Everybody rolls. Everybody rocks now, baby. Everybody rolls. Cats in a rabbit and long-eared hair. You can't find a partner you wouldn't tell. Everybody rocks now, baby. Everybody rolls. Everybody rocks now, baby. Everybody rolls. Everybody rocks now, baby. Everybody rolls.
All right, back here one more time with Hetty and Dee Dee from Boom Boom Deluxe, and we should talk about the record, which is called Teenage Juvenile Delinquent Rock and Roll Horror Beach Party.
Well
That pretty
done,
much gets
well
it all
done,
in there,
yeah.
right? So it covers everything as far as that goes.
Our current tour is sponsored by Magic, the radio station.
Right.
They've been real good to us. And we decided we were going to call it something as complicated as possible because we've become quite good friends with some of the DJs.
Yeah.
And we know
So
they
got to love that.
They've got to try and squeeze that into a 30-second sting. Good luck, boys. And also, it's the name of a book all about the kind of the 50s
Right.
movies. So yeah.
And where'd you record the record?
At the depot with the very talented Morgan Allen. He's a legend. He's done both of our albums for us. He totally gets because we basically set up and play live.
Right.
Pretty much. I mean, do 2 or 3 takes of everything and then drop some solos and bits over the top, but pretty much live recordings.
Right.
And he's just got a great ear, lovely attitude. He pushes us hard. Just fantastic.
Real
So
professional.
mastered. The last record was mastered in Nashville. This time round, it was mastered by John O'Pearce from the Beths.
Yeah.
He did he was fantastic. I mean, he did a different.
He does everything.
Yeah, but
he's amazing.
He's got such a good ear as well.
Yeah.
He did a great master for the digital stuff that really pumped. He's done one slightly different for the vinyl, and he's done another one for the CD. I mean, he was just legend, lovely
cool.
guy.
Yeah.
And
So there is
We
vinyl.
did it. We did this in
Oh.
what, 6 days, by the way.
6 days.
6 days?
13 songs
took you
in
so
6
long?
days, yeah. Which was, it was crazy. And the last song that's got Glenn Matlock on, the sex
Oh, yeah,
players,
right,
bass player, yeah. I was in a band with him and Rat Scabies from The Damned at one point. Don't ask, long story. I mean, great guys. Just,
Yeah.
I mean, you think punk, and they're just such nice guys. They've both got kids, and they're just, yeah. And good musicians, real good musicians. But yeah, Glenn said he'd be happy to do some stuff, so wrote this song for him and sent him and he did a vocal on it, and then I did a vocal on it, and by the time we mixed it down, it's basically a duet now. We're kind of swapping lines, and it's great. So if he comes over again next year, because he's doing a round the world solo tour, hopefully we'll be his band and we'll be playing his stuff.
Oh, great,
with him.
yeah, because I saw him at the tuning fork.
Yeah,
Here,
he's
but
great.
He was just by himself.
Yeah.
for the
No,
last
he's good value. He's a good lad.
That'd be very cool. Yeah, alrighty. So what's the last song we're going to hear?
This is Dial M for Murder. When we're not recording and writing songs for other rockabilly bands and doing the podcast, retrogasmicpodcast.com. Sorry, yeah,
Nice move.
Yeah, if you like retro stuff, give it a listen. It's good value. We basically our downtime. We watch old movies, don't we?
Yeah, YouTube.
Yeah.
Treasure trove of old. Yeah,
So even
really.
Hitchcock movies are on there?
Yeah.
There are some.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. We've watched.
And high quality too.
He made about 60, maybe 61 movies, depending on how you want to define some of the short films.
Yep.
But this song has got 30 Alfred Hitchcock song titles in the lyrics.
Is Notorious in it?
Yes.
That's my favorite movie.
Yeah.
Of all time.
Yeah. That is a great film.
Yeah. All right, great. All right. Well, thank you guys for swinging by and
pleasure.
bringing the
Thanks for having us.
dancers and the rest of the band and everything.
It was fun,
You're
man.
going to be on the road so people can check you out. 'Cause
Yeah.
You're always,
We're on
always
Facebook.
We're always on the road.
Always on the road.
BoomBoomDeluxe.com.
All righty.
Never ends.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Cheers,
you.
man.
Dial for murder. Somebody's killing my heart. I'm notorious psycho with a frenzy. It's time to pull the world apart. My suspicion was you. I got the wrong man. Life post on and got a pension plan. Dial for murder. Somebody's killing my heart. Oh, Rebecca, I'm just a man who knew too much. Oh, hanging to a rope, let it go downhill, double dust. I said, bon voyage to strangers on a train. I confess I was spellbound again. Dialing for murder, somebody's killing my heart. Brother saw Will Harry sold as he knew best. Found his wife was rich and strange, dragging me north by northwest. He was young and innocent, but she